Sai Ram, offering our prayerful pranams at our dear Lord's lotus feet. A warm welcome to all our brothers and sisters tuning in with us today. It gives us great joy to welcome everyone to today's satsang program, and particularly more pleasure to invite Brother Axay Kalatia, our zonal chair, Sri Sathya Sai Global Council, Zone 1, United States, Canada, and the West Indies regions. A few words about Brother Axay. Brother Axay had been an instrument ever since I have known him in Bhagwan's mission for a long period of time. Axay was the president of Region 3 until recently, and went on to serve Bhagwan in the capacity of National Devotional Coordinator thereafter, and now the Zonal Chair, Zone 1. Brother Swami isn't giving you any rest anytime soon. Particularly now, the biggest task Swami has entrusted you with is to serve him as the Zonal Chair. Particularly now, because at a time like this, when the world is upside down with the health crisis, and even we in our Sai world a bit with the ongoing confusion that we are in the middle of. Brother, we have received a lot of questions from our region and members, and we would like to take this opportunity to ask you those to gain a common understanding mainly, and to learn how best we can realign ourselves if at all we need to. But before I jump into my first question, a few opening remarks, please.
Sai Ram, I offer myself at the divine lotus feet of our dear Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Sai Ram, respected elders and dear Sai brothers and sisters, I'm grateful to Region 3 President Dr. Vinny Raman for inviting me to share the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council vision for moving this great Sai movement forward. Yes, Girish, this year has been a very difficult time for all of us. And I think we have to keep in mind two teachings. Number one, nothing happens without his will. Swami is most certainly in charge, and he's orchestrating everything as a test for each and every one of us. And the second thing that we shouldn't forget is that with tests and with difficulties, always comes opportunity and the chance to advance in our spiritual journey. So I'm happy to be here today with you, Girish, and I pray to Swami for guidance to help me ask the tough questions that you have in store for me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your time, firstly. These are in most of our minds right now, these questions, and I have around 10 of them today here for you. So to start off with, what is the structure of Sri Sathya Sai Global Council? We hear a little bit of here and there from our presidents and our regional officers, but then to hear from you, from your perspective, what is the structure that we should be aware of?
Yeah, if I can maybe start by explaining first the rationale for why the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council was formed. And really, on a very simple level, it's formed to further enhance this great Sai mission formally by uniting the three major branches in his organization under one umbrella. So you have the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, you have the Sri Sathya Sai Seva Organization, which is all of India, and we had the Sri Sathya Sai International Organization. So simply just to connect them all and unite under one umbrella formally is the reason it was formed. And we have to remember that before 2011, before the Mahasamadhi, Bhagwan's physical presence guided and connected everyone to him in and out of Prashanti Nilayam. And then once that physical form was absent, it should have become evident from the beginning that everyone should have joined together in unity at that time. That's the natural thing to do. It should have been done in 2011, but of course, we were all caught off guard. All the leaders were caught off guard. Nobody really expected this. And we're all human, and we all had our emotions to deal with, and we all had to reconcile how to move forward. And we were all busy, trying to figure out what to do. And year after year passed. But it's never too late to do the right thing, the right course of action that's going to benefit everyone. So getting back to the question of the structure, the Sri Sathya Sai Global Council is comprised of leaders from around the world that are organized within a single, transparent, fair, and balanced structure. The highest number of representatives, interestingly, is from those that live outside of India, followed by those that are part of the Indian organization, and only 3 members that comprise the central trust. So it's led by an executive council, and that executive council, there's one for the Indian organization portion of the Global Council and one for the international portion. And each executive council consists of over 20 people that collaborate, help guide the organization at high level decision making. So if you look at it, there's such great transparency, there's such great accountability, there's checks and balances and fair representation. So when you have an organization led by human beings trying to do their best, this structure is such a fair way as we go 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 50 years down the road, 100 years down the road. It just makes so much sense. And that's why this Global Council has come to manifest.
And this executive committee oversees the entire Global Council then, both India and outside of India.
That's correct. That's correct. So you have the 3 trust members that are on there. You have the chairman of the Global Council, who, by the way, doesn't have veto power. The chairman is there as a signatory to just sign the official documents. But the decision-making is a collective decision-making. For the international portion, every zonal chair is on that executive committee. Senior members are on that executive committee. A couple of the senior members from the Indian organization. So the vast majority of the executive council that determine what happens internationally are international devotees. And from the national level down, really nothing changes. The intent was never to micromanage anything at the center, regional, or national level. The intent was only to create more unity, more collaboration at a formal level. And that's really what's transpired beautifully, I may add.
Coming specifically to Region 3, we have many of our Region 3 members tuned in today. Specifically to Region 3, is Region 3 one of the first regions to join Global Council? Is that true? We are one of the foremost centers.
Well, with Swami's grace, the first center in the U.S. Was the Clearwater Sai Center, and they initially joined on board. And word travels quickly within the community, and when somebody respected like Dr. Geeta Kamath is giving advice, people naturally want to listen. And so, with the leadership of Balu Karanam, who was the Regional 3 president at that time and now is the national president for the USA, he did a wonderful thing. He consulted with all the past regional presidents in Region 3. He consulted with the senior leadership at all of the large centers. And then he directed each center president to go back and discuss with your officers, keeping in mind what's best for the center moving forward, and discuss with senior leadership at your own center, and then come back and report to the region. And when the center presidents came back and reported, the vast majority of them felt it was the right thing to do is to align with Global Council. And so Region 3 had that blessing to have most of its centers join simultaneously. Other regions, there's been a block in the dissemination of information, especially that coming from the Global Council. And so many centers still to this day are either unaware of the existence of the Global Council or even the purpose of the Global Council, or even worse, given propaganda, that instills fear in joining for some unfounded reasons. So what's happening is, as the information is getting out, and it's usually like any good movement, it's from the ground up. It's a word of mouth movement. And as people are becoming aware of why the Global Council is formed, and they go and look at the material, so many centers, every week we're having more and more centers from our zone signing up and joining. And so there are many regions that don't have a regional leadership team for now because it's in such flux. But what happens is those centers can certainly reach out to the national team. We have a great national leadership team set up in the USA, and any center is always welcome to reach out to them. They're so helpful, and we know that, not, first of all, 95% of everything we do at the center is a center-run activity. We don't need anybody outside of the center to do your center activities, right? So it doesn't matter really at that level who's regional president, who's zonal chair. Nobody's going to interfere with your center activities, whether it's your service programs, your devotional programs, your education programs. That doesn't require any oversight from something outside. So this is more for high level, steering the big ship, so to speak. Where does this organization going with the decades to come? As far as Canada goes, virtually entire Region 1 of Canada, which is by far the largest region in Canada. Again, very similar to Region 3, similar process. The vast majority of those centers, if not all of them, have joined together with Global Council. In the West Indies, there again has been a problem with dissemination of information. And so they're in the process of getting that information out. And again, weekly, center after center is joining. So it's very rapidly evolving, Girish.
Thank you. And I think, as you say, I think the more work we do as Global Council, I think the more gets seen, and then people begin to understand. On those lines, what is our immediate plan as a Global Council Zone 1, if I ask you particularly? What are our plans in the next 3 months, or in the near future, 6 months from now? What are we starting to do from tomorrow?
Good question. I think the immediate plan, I think we touched base, is really education. We want to educate people and let them know that at the central level, nothing changes. So education is very important. By no means do we want to tell people what to do, or tell them you have to join this or you have to not join this. We feel that every devotee has a heart-to-heart connection with Swami. Every devotee has intelligence and discrimination. And I think every devotee really at this point has an obligation. They have an obligation, for whatever reason, the way it's played out, the reality of the situation is Bhagwan has made every devotee exposed to this and have to decide. Why? We don't know. He only knows. But he has, and that's the reality of it. So now that we're thrust into this situation, every devotee that cares about Swami's organization, that wants the organization to succeed for decades to come, I think they have an obligation to objectively look at the proposals from both sides and ask themselves, by taking personalities out of it, by taking innuendo out of it, and look at it objectively. What's best for Swami's mission? What is most in what is most in alignment with what he's taught us? And unity is hard to argue with. Girish, as a student, how often Swami has emphasized unity. When I had the good fortune to come to Prashanti and participate in a lot of the medical camps and work in the hospital, the leadership would always counsel me, Swami cares about unity. That's the number one thing. Make sure you're united. So I don't think you need an excuse to become more united. You don't have to wait for a divine command to be united. You don't have to wait for a legal proclamation to be united. Every moment of our lives, we should be thinking, how can we be more united individually with our thoughts, word, and deed? How can we be more united as a family? How can we be more united as a center? And so taking it at the highest level, it's so natural. How can we be more united as a worldwide Swami organization? And so this Global Council is just a natural answer that people are coming to the realization that it makes so much sense. So I'm sorry, I forgot to answer your question. I went off on a tangent. So going back to our plans. So lots of plans. It's amazing how Swami sends the right people at the right time. And when Swami wants something to happen, everything just falls into place, and it's almost miraculous. I mean, it is miraculous how within a matter of weeks, an entire infrastructure is evolving, and the right people are just coming out of the blue at the right time. I'm just so humbled and to be a witness to all of this. So we're planning first of all, we're getting the officers lined up. The national officer team is set for the U.S. It's been set almost completely for Canada, almost completely for Trinidad in the West Indies. The other countries are still coming on board. So we're planning for the USA. We're planning a Labor Day retreat, and we have some outstanding speakers lined up. And I'm sure Balu and Vinny will be talking about that in the days to come. Very eminent speakers that we can really be inspired by. We're planning centennial celebrations, the 100-year anniversary of the birth of this avatar. And this is being guided by Prashanti Nilayam. And they have reached out to me, reached out to Balu, reached out to the Global Council that this is going to be a collaborative grand event. They not only want us to participate in these grand celebrations, they want us to help. They want us to be helpful in the planning, to help contribute, to join in as one large family. So the centennial celebrations it's going to be a grand event. We're going to have group collective sadhana activities that we all do together, individual sadhanas. We're going to have retreats. We're going to have seminars. We're going to have programs. We're planning a 2002 pilgrimage, hopefully a zonal-wide pilgrimage. We've all been waiting to go to Prashanti Nilayam. So what better time than 2002? And with Swami's grace, hopefully this pandemic will be very well controlled by then. Of course, that's a prerequisite. But a pilgrimage to Puttaparthi where the SSC students can put on a drama, the young adults can put on a drama. We can have workshops with eminent people in Prashanti, professors from Prashanti, longtime devotees from Prashanti, tours of Prashanti Nilayam and Puttaparthi, where Swami took birth, where he walked on the grounds, where he disseminated his grand mission, Veda chanting rituals, grand rituals involving Veda chanting, and of course, service projects. We're going to go not only to receive, but we're going to go and roll our sleeves up and help serve as we go there as well. So those are just some of the few activities that are in the works right now. This is not far-term planning. We are in the stages, with Swami's grace, of starting to work out details of all of these things.
Even with just sharing the gist of it, you almost took us to Prashanti Nilayam already. So much that's being done. You talked about Prashanti Nilayam particularly now. Curious as to, and we did watch one or two seminars that you held, for lack of a better word, with managing trustee Ratnakar Garu as well. So how is the love and support, particularly now from Prashanti Nilayam to us and this amidst this ongoing confusion? Just give us where they are.
Yeah, I find it interesting that one of the sticking points in the negotiation processes was the fear that's been propagated. Number one, that the Global Council is going to supervise, everybody in the world. And that seemed to be the big sticking point for not wanting to unite. And to me, the experience that I've had has been, the word supervise, I think, is not being interpreted correctly. Let me tell you some of my experiences since I've been appointed zonal chair. When I was appointed zonal chair, which, by the way, I found out, literally days before the appointment. I had no idea it was coming. And this is another thing that I was not seeking, did not want, and Swami thrust me into this. So when I had the appointment, I spoke to a lot of the elders throughout our zone who gave me wonderful advice and guidance. I spoke to many of you out there to get some guidance. And I crafted a letter and said, sent it to Brother Ratnakar and Sri Chakravarti and said, this is the vision that we as a zone are planning. we'd like to do this, we'd like to do this, we'd like to do this. Many of the things I just related to you from the prior question. And I sent them a nice letter and to let them know this is what we'd like to do. And that very evening, I get a call from Sri Ratnakar. And he thanked me for sending the letter. And he said, Axay, we trust you to consult with your own people and your own elders and do whatever noble works you want to do. You don't need to get our approval for anything. Whatever you think is for Swami's organization, you please go and do it. You don't have to get approval for anything that you do. Make sure it's in alignment with Swami's teachings and run with it. And just every now and then give us a little feedback and give us a call and let us know how things are and how we can help you. So this is the attitude that I've run across with the Global Council and the leadership. Nothing but supportive and just completely leaving the trust to us. There is no hint of micromanagement. The other fear that's been put out there is, well, now that we're with Global Council, don't join Global Council because now this is going to be an Indian-run, Hindu-based organization that's going to force everybody out. To even say that about anything started by Swami, to me, is blasphemy. First of all, the organization, of course, is going to be run with Swami's guidance and principles, of which there's no shortage. You can go to the ashram and buy 4 volumes of books that talk about only discourses that Swami gave to the All India conferences, to the international conferences held every 5 years, to the teacher courses that he's held. There's literally 4 books of nothing but discourses on how he wants every facet of this organization to be run. So we're not going to deviate from that. The other thing is they appointed someone who was raised in the West. I grew up here. I grew up with a Western mindset. So I'm the last person you want to appoint if you want to create this to be an Indian-based organization. Because I grew up in the West. I understand Western culture. It's dear to my heart. I've always championed the issue in our region, as you know, to balance, and unfortunately I've made enemies, but I've always championed the issue. We should have balance. We should worry about our community and our neighborhood. We should, how do we get this message out rather than hoarding it to ourselves? How can we serve our communities? What better way to serve our community and making them aware of this avatar and his message? So of course, we're going to have space for all cultures and all religions in our centers and programs moving forward.
I think it's very, very important that you say that, brother, because that was one thing that we are hearing ground up as well, that now all of it is shifted to India. Do they really understand what's happening in the US? How many of them have really traveled here? How many of them really know what's happening here? Aren't the cultures different? Even Swami prescribed something else for us, while something else was happening in Puttaparthi even back then. So, but then I think that answers the point where our leadership pretty much remains here, and we understand our environment very well, and then we do as we were doing until now as well. Thank you. A particular question on where we are right now in terms of the pandemic as well. We all know ever since last year, March or so, we have done something that we have never done so much before. That is to go online as much as that we are right now. Everything is online. We are able to, I had an opportunity to speak at Shivam, Hyderabad. They were giving Arati on the computer, literally to the laptop. And then everybody was receiving it from the laptop. But then that's where we have all been pushed to with the ongoing crisis. And which is also, as a HR professional, it's kind of made us a little bit far from each other. Socially, we were a strong organization because we were bonded like brothers and sisters in the centers. So that we have slightly come afar, and added to that this ongoing confusion. So there is a strong desire to bring this unity back that we had earlier, almost nullifying the confusion that was created because of this. How should we do that?
Yeah, that's a good question and a good dilemma that we've all been faced with. And I think anytime I face a dilemma in my life, whether it's socially or in my workplace or in the organization, the natural place for me to turn is Swami and his teachings. And I think that's the answer. We need to immerse ourselves in the study and practice of his teachings. because that is the way out for us individually and for us as a world. There's the need of the hour for the world today is receiving and practicing Swami's teachings. And part of that is to realize that everything has a purpose. The universe is fair. There is no such thing as unfair in this universe. God has planned it that way. So it's our job to see how is it fair and how can we align with Bhagwan's mission? How do we align with that? No matter what the difficulty that we're being presented with. We're social creatures. We interact with each other. We get our sustenance from each other, whether it's at our family level or our community level. And so that's why there's a power in the organization. And so I'm going to set up this organization so we can unite and do things together. When we do things together, it's so much more powerful. I love singing bhajans in my car. It's really elevating, but it doesn't compare to sitting and doing bhajans with family and friends. It just doesn't compare. I love serving. It's very elevating, but it's a different level when I'm serving together with other people. I love studying Swami's literature, but it's a different level when I have the opportunity to get somebody else's perspective on what Swami said and how they apply it in their lives. So this is the gift that Swami has given us, this organization where on a social level, we can use his teachings and apply them in every aspect of our lives. So this organization is our home. When we would visit Prashanti, Swami would always tell the doctors, we would say, when can we come back? Thank you for this opportunity. And Swami would say, this is your home. Do you ever ask your mother, when can you come back? And I think this is the way our center should be. Our organization is. This is our home. And so we want to be united in our home and center ourselves with Swami and his teachings. And the core of that teaching is unity and sacrifice. Not me. What is good for my liberation? What is good for my advancement? What is good for me? No, what do I have to give up? How can I make myself a better person so society will benefit from it? That's how we should be thinking. That's what we should be doing. And that I think, and from my understanding of the Vedas, that's one of the core messages of the Vedas is unity, oneness, and sacrifice. The whole yajna is sacrifice. We're doing all of these rituals to bring those vibrations and impressions into our mind that you get by giving. You give up, you sacrifice, and that brings about immortality. It's the step before immortality. So we need to unite and we need to sacrifice.
Thank you, Rob. There's one particular question that we have that has come from our region. It's a question that probably many center officers are facing in particular, is if when we present this entire storyline of how it has happened and where is what right now, and what is Region 3 doing, what is Zone 1 doing, there is a obvious reflection from a regular devotee's mind that what if we wait in the middle, neither join Global Council nor join international organization, but then stay right in the middle and observe both? What's wrong in being neutral? How should we really answer such a member? I mean, we tried whatever little we know, but then I think there'll be more authenticity when you say.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because if you look at it on the surface, it seems like a great thing to do, right? But I think you have to go deeper, and I think one of the fallacies in that line of thinking, from my perspective, is being neutral. In this case, doesn't mean that if you're not doing anything, you're neutral. The way it's been handed down to us is if you don't do anything, you've decided to stay with an organization that has cut ties with the rest of the Sai unit around the world, and that has cut formal ties with Prashanti Nilayam. So that's one way to understand it, is that really neutral by doing nothing? By doing nothing, you are aligning with a certain vision. And if that vision fits with your conscience and your understanding, then by all means align with it. That's the advice we always give, is in the end, you make your decision. You are being tested by Swami, and you make the decision, and that you get Swami's blessings from Swami directly. We have nothing to do with the decision. So that, I think it's a fallacy in looking at, well, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just being neutral. But then you're not being neutral. But then you could say, well, I'm gonna resign from all organizations. And I think then you're missing the boat on Swami's teachings, right? Swami, it's separation is so easy. Uniting is hard. Working by yourself is so easy because you do everything you want and nobody is there to criticize you. Working with others is hard, but working with others is really what we need to help reduce our egos and not get sidetracked. So Swami created this organization, and I'm convinced he wanted us to be part of his organization. So I don't think the answer is just resigning from everything and being neutral and going our own way. I don't think that aligns with what Swami wants us to do. I think Swami wants us to use our conscience, understand what's going on, and make the right decision according to your heart.
On the same lines, I think you mentioned that, and Swami did talk about it as well, that my connection is with Swami. I necessarily need not have to connect with an organization. I have a direct connection with Bhagwan. So, I mean, even Swami laughed at such an argument earlier. Okay, if that was so easy, why would I start off all these organizations asking you to go through them and have a role and all of that? But then in this particular context, that becomes a little bit more a serious thought at this point, that I cannot really afford this confusion. It's too stressful. I will have my connection with Bhagwan. I think you kind of answered it with, I want to sing in my car, versus there is a power in the samishti prayer that Swami keeps asking.
Yeah, and Girish, they're not mutually exclusive, right? Yes, you should have your personal connection with Swami. And yes, you should unite with others in his organization. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. Why would you join an organization and decide to lose your personal connection with Swami? That is a given. That is always there.
Yeah, thank you. And I think overall, we got a good perspective of where the zone as such is looking at and the goals that you have in place. Anything particular that you want to share with us as a wrap up, as a closing remarks in terms of the plans for Zone 1 and something that we should all take home with as a prayer?
Just to continue on the line of talking we had, you don't need an organization to connect with Swami. You don't need the organization. So why did he start an organization if we don't need an organization? Because of his mercy and his grace and his love for us, and seeing lifetime after lifetime, have we struggled on this spiritual path. And this was one reason why he took birth in this form, to answer those prayers. And one way he answered those prayers is to make a very tangible gift called the Sri Sathya Sai organization. And so this is a wonderful, powerful tool that we can utilize to sanctify our lives, make them more happy, make them more fruitful, and bring us closer to our ultimate goal of complete bliss with him, merging with him. And so being united is the theme of Global Council. Being united with family, being united with the Sathya Sai organization from around the world, being united with the birthplace and epicenter of his mission. I don't understand. I can see maybe as an individual, you can say, well, Swami is everywhere. I can just close my eyes and Swami is with me. Prashanti is in my heart. I 100% agree with that. But as an organization, how could you not be connected to Prashanti Nilayam? As an organization formally, it makes no sense. Just because there's a disagreement, you walk away from the epicenter of where Swami started the organization. And we all know all the stories of how so many people in the early years were trying to get Swami to move his residence outside, offered palaces and offered this and offered that. And he emphatically, unambiguously, continually said, no, Prashanti Nilayam is the base of this avataric mission. So as an organization to disassociate from that because they happen to disagree on some points is beyond me. It really is beyond me. So, but moving forward to what's going to happen, and at this zonal level, we have a lot of lot of amazing things already in the works. We have zonal committees that are being formed currently. So one of the things, keeping with this principle of unity, rather than each nation, forming a whole committee, why don't we leverage each other's talents and skills, and be united as a zone? So Canada, the West Indies, the USA, such wonderful devotees, and we're going to have a committee to draw people from all of these countries, making it that much more powerful. The committees are more of a think tank, a place where we can discuss and come up with special programs and plans where we can apply Swami's teachings in our daily lives, right? The other goal of Global Council is to make Swami's teachings the absolute center point and crux of everything that moves forward. What has Swami emphasized? How has he delivered it? How has he executed it? That is our guiding principle. So these committees are using those guiding principles and applying them into very practical elements of our life. So we have a committee for social justice. I know so many young adults were concerned about social justice. And of course, why not? Your heart bleeds when fellow man suffers. So why not have Swami's teachings given to us to discuss and collaborate with each other, and using the guidance of elders, and say, what would Swami do? How would he want us to respond to this? How can we serve? How can we help? So we have a social justice committee. We have a ladies wing, lots of issues that, ladies, face, and from, hearing from elders in our organization, they all think this is a needed venture. So we're supporting that. And a ladies wing is coming up. We have disaster response, continuing that, that's disaster after disaster keeps happening. And just to mention, as we're speaking, this is one of those leelas of Swami, that he's just assembled an amazing team. And very shortly, within a day, or if you may have already received how we're, as a global council, responding to this Haiti crisis. And people have been working literally 24 hours a day to give us all an opportunity to join together in this seva. So we have already initiated a seva to help with the destruction that's happened to those poor, unfortunate brothers and sisters in Haiti. So we have a disaster response committee that's fully functional already. We have a tutoring committee. We have a media and tech committee, which is outstanding and so responsive. You ask for help, and within hours, they're helping. It's unbelievable. We have young adults is another guiding principle. Sri Ratnakar, Sri Chakravarti have emphasized how the young adults are not only the future, but the present leaders of this organization. And, Sri Nimish Pandya in India, many of the state presidents in India are young adults, and many of them are SSE Dalvikas graduates. So young adults is definitely a priority, and we're planning so many wonderful things with the young adults. We have we're in communication with several of the professors in this country who visit Prashanti Nilayam on a regular basis. And as you know, Girish, the awareness course that you had as a student, that every university student gets. So why can't we model something like that awareness course for any interested Sai young adults? And why can't we invite some of your professors who taught you the awareness course? Why can't we have them on a Zoom call and give every young adult in our zone the opportunity to get a taste of being a Sri Sathya Sai student and do an awareness course? And then why can't we award a certificate that this course was completed, and as part of our pilgrimage, award the certificates to those that completed the awareness course from those very professors in Prashanti. So that's one thing we're in the process of trying to get permission for and work on. The other thing is leadership. It's always important, but it's one thing to have a lecture on leadership, Girish, but it's another thing to practice leadership. There's no better learning than on-the-job training. As you're a leader in the corporate world yourself, and you know more about it than I do. So we have a committee that is called an education committee, but really it's nothing to do with study circles, nothing to do with EHV. That's in the children's program. This is geared towards setting up programs of leadership along with the awareness course, where it's on-the-job training, where each of the zonal committees that we're setting up is going to have a chair that'll be a senior, and it's going to have a vice chair that's going to be a young adult. So they are not, we're not going to say we're doing this, okay, young adult, now go carry it out, right? We're going to say, no, you are at the inception. You're going to help be part of the planning team, and we're going to take your inputs, we're going to take your ideas, and you're going to have the opportunity of sitting side by side with somebody experienced. How do they make decisions? How do they vet this project? How do they go about talking to people? You learn side by side from these elders who have such amazing experience, and many of them who've been personally guided by Swami. So this is another vision we have for the young adult program. Long-term visions is we want to reinstitute the Grama Seva project in Puttaparthi. We have so many people that are stepping forward to say, this is a wonderful idea. And you as a student, I'm sure, Girish, have participated in these Grama Seva projects. And so why can't our young adults in Zone 1 be able to participate in these projects? Why can't we have an orientation of why did Swami start this Grama Seva? What is the purpose of the Grama Seva? And have them perhaps join with some of the Sai students side by side and actually participate in some of these projects. So these are the visions that are being discussed right now. And that's the beauty of the unity of this global council. By collaborating with the Trust and the Indian Seva organization, we are part of that family, and we have a line of communication directly to learn from them and share with them and participate with them. So these are some of these visions that are going on currently.
Yeah, it sounds like when you say it, we're almost bringing Prashantanilayam now to the US. So much of alignment and so much of work together. I think it will really be a great journey forward for all of us. And I think the best of us, the best has always come from us when we were united. Like you said, Swami was always looking at people, organizations that were together. I know in particular, not taking names, but there was one organization that used to regularly come, the leaders used to regularly come to meet Swami, and Swami would not be very interested in talking to them. He's like, no, go fix issues back in your center, come back united. And many years later, they come as a big group, and then Swami feels so excited to talk to them and to give them interviews and blessings and so on. So he's always wanted us to express ourselves in harmony, in unison. Yeah, thank you so much, brother. I'm sure I've been pulled from different directions. Thank you for taking your time towards our direction today and spending some time with us. And like I said, the idea of this, hopefully, again, to every member in Region 3 and every devotee watching this, is to gain common understanding and learn how best we can align ourselves to Bhagavan. Everything else is really just on the sidelines. Our main connection must be with Bhagavan, and that we can find best through this vehicle right now. Yeah, thank you for your time once again, and look forward to meeting you in person sometime.
Thank you, Girish, Sai Ram. I'm so grateful to Swami to give this opportunity. Grateful to the Region 3 leadership team for letting me come on, and of course, I always enjoy chatting with you, Girish. I do look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, brother.